This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 371. Expand your team to win faster.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
What we're about to get into this week is admittedly one of my favorite topics. And admittedly, it often comes around to the conversation where other people would say, I can't afford to outsource. And it's really easy to then respond, well, you can't afford not to. Yet part of the goal of this week is to give you a little bit more of the insight behind the journey towards expanding your abilities by, simply put, hiring on people who could do things better than you and I could do it. And by doing so, your stuff will look better, your stuff will sound better, you'll, at the end of the day, have more money in your pocket and have more time for important tasks like seeing your clients, for things like spending time with your family, or even better, not pulling your hair out doing technical tasks that, simply put, you and I both don't know how to do. So we're about to map through 4 specific team members, which, take note, everything I'm going to share with you is from the mindset of very low-cost entry point. This doesn't have to be a massive undertaking. This doesn't have to be ridiculously expensive. And to kick things off in the right direction, though, there's going to be 2 main resources that I'm going to highlight for you. The first would be, one of them I have to make fun of myself about, which would be the fact that I believe by accident, then again, we're nearly 400 episodes strong of this series. The first thing would be the fact that I believe at least 2, maybe 3 episodes of this podcast over the years have been titled Hypnotic Outsourcing. Turns out I might have repeated that title, and without noticing this flaw myself, today's episode might have been called it once again. Instead, today is Expand Your Team to Win Faster. Do you see how I put the title in your benefit rather than clever phrasing? Ooh, there's a cool takeaway, by the way, in terms of copywriting. So let's just make it really simple. Today's episode is session number 371. So simply go over to worksmarthypnosis.com/371. And in addition to all the show notes and details for this week's episode, I've actually got a video that's a presentation from HypnoThoughts Live a number of years ago called Hypnotic Outsourcing. And we'll put that video on the page of this week's show notes, worksmarthypnosis.com/371, because that video presentation actually maps through the exact journey of how to hire other people in a very low cost, very no stress way. So, ignore the other 2 episodes. See what I've done here? Ignore the other 2 episodes called Hypnotic Outsourcing, and instead just simply go to the show notes for this week's episode and watch that video after you listen to this presentation here today. Second of all, as always, check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com, because yes, one version of building out your team is hiring other people. The other one is making sure you have the right mentor, the right coach on your side. And let me call out a unique selling proposition that should not be a unique selling proposition. I'm one of the very few people in this industry that actually is teaching what I'm currently doing right now to bring in my own clients. There's a little too much of people out there creating content for the sake of content. You know the animated GIF of the cat like banging its paws on the keyboard? That's always in my mind because I keep seeing people who produce things just for the sake of selling it to other people. And it's not yet tested. It's not yet proven. It's not yet been workshopped in businesses beyond their own. And sadly, that is my origin story of attending a workshop at a convention where someone was teaching a business strategy that they had not yet workshopped themselves. They had not yet done it at all. And at a polite moment, I got the hell out of that room, and that's what sort of lit the fire under me to become, as others have called it, and I've got the award behind me from Rick Paddock, the hypnosis business guinea pig, that I will not teach you anything that we haven't yet tested in my business, and nowadays as well, workshopped in other hypnotist businesses even around the world. So check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com, because in addition to the team strategies I'm going to be sharing with you in this week's episode, it also comes around to just simply using techniques that have already been proven to work. And it's where this community, this program used to just be tell you what to do. Then it became show you how to do it. And nowadays, a good chunk of it has morphed into, hey, look, just use my stuff. Here are the strategies. Here are the exact sentences that actually inspire muggles, non-hypnotists, to then become your hypnosis clients. And really, for the income of less than one client session, when you really utilize the strategies properly, you can get into the program right away. Check that out, hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. And with that, let's dive directly into the 4 core team members you need to win faster. So here we go. Session number 371, expand your team to win faster. Okay, one more sort of pre-frame before we get into the information this week. A simple mindset to lock into the front of your brain. Put this into your prefrontal cortex, put this into your reticular activating cortex. It would be the fact that just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, there's always going to be some give and take on this, as I'm about to dive into 4 specific categories to consider. Yet again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because I'll give you a simple example of this, and do not be impressed by this next statement, because this is my greatest challenge sometimes. My former career was actually in management for performance arts. So I was a stage manager. I was the wizard behind the curtain calling cues. I was often up in the booth calling the production cues for lights and sounds and scene changes in rather high-budget professional theater. And before I moved into that management role, and even then before I burned out hideously and then took the hobby of hypnosis and went full-time with it ever since, I was actually on track at one point to become a sound editor. And here's a little fun fact, and do not nerd out over this next bit and go, oh, I need to get that software. That's going to make me better. No, that's not the point of the story. It was that it's the late 1990s, and even in high school, I was doing some of the sound design for high school theater productions, which is almost as cool as the other sentence you might have heard me say of my friends from Magic Camp. But let's keep going here, because this week is about you. And it was that my first piece of sound editing software was Cool Edit Pro 2000. Whoa. And just to show how trending this sucker was, Cool Edit Pro 2000, I think, came out in 1997. And that's what I was using for sound editing and sound design, which eventually that software was bought out by the Adobe company, the company that also does like Photoshop. And now it's Adobe Audition. So you can imagine my level of excitement when years later I bought the entire Adobe Creative Suite, which used to be ridiculously expensive, and now I think it's like $55 US a month. They made it a subscription basis, which actually made it more affordable and also made it so we get access to their support. And honestly, now the only reason I pay for that is so I can open up the files that other people create for me. I wanted to kick off with my background in sound editing, because just because you can doesn't mean you should. The amount of time it would take for me to go in and do the edits is the time it could also take me to finish producing new material. So even as I'm recording this week's episode, I record it, if you're curious, in Adobe Audition, because, well, we already have it, but I'd actually tell you, if you have an Apple computer, you already have GarageBand, just use that. If you have Windows, or even Apple, you can download Audacity, which is free. And then I'm going to be talking about audio and video in the second team hire. Yet I wanted to kick off with this little preamble because, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's where I'm going to talk about graphic and web design. And yes, there's click and drag builders. Yes, I'm going to be talking about accounting here in a bit. Yes, you can buy the software yourself. Another set of eyes, another more skilled person who that's their specialty can do all these things better. Now, there may be benefits sometimes in just a quick and dirty task. Yet, again, this is about helping you grow over time. So just take this little opening section of when you catch yourself losing hours of momentum because you're in the weeds of the technical stuff, that's often a good cue. Someone else should be doing it. So here we go. Now let's officially dive into this week's material. So expand your team to win faster. I will openly share over the years the more willing I have been to hire people who are more technically skilled at more technical tasks than I am. That's what really has helped me to grow the business faster, make things look and sound even better, and stay tuned for point number 4 here this week. Keep even more of the income that I've worked so hard to gain. So let's kick off with the first category. And there's really 4 main categories, which I've kind of expanded. So technically it might sound like there's 8 different things, but really they're in 4 main chunks. First of all, a graphic or a web designer, or both. Very often is that someone can fit into both of those roles. Now, you don't have to do what I currently do, which is that I have a full-time person in this specific role, but that's because look at the amount of stuff that my company is putting out on a regular basis. Instead, come around to the fact that oftentimes you're putting out some sort of graphic on social media, you're putting out some sort of update on a website, and simply put, someone else who has that specific set of skills can likely do it better and faster than you can. Even more so, let's look at the fact that here's last week's episode of the podcast, the one that came out with Joshua Peters on X Factor Hypnosis. And to give you a little bit of a peek behind the scenes, it's where as soon as I was done recording that episode, I got an image from Josh in order to help to promote that event, that podcast episode. And my graphic designer is the other side of the world. As I woke up in the morning, I had 3 beautiful drafts of what that podcast image cover was going to look like. And then my job was not to design 3 different versions or one version, which was okay enough. Instead, it came around to, here were 3. I liked this one the best. I told her that was my favorite. And then within seconds, it was published to the world and it was done. And it's where in that span of time that I could have wasted so much energy badly, because graphic design is not my skill. Instead, that's when I was producing other episodes, adding a whole new module to one of my higher level programs. And this past weekend was my daughter's 11th birthday, and hanging up streamers and going out and picking up the cake and everything and having a life beyond my business. So it goes back to a story at a convention a number of years ago where a friend looked at the stuff that I was putting up and he goes, "Yeah, that looks great, but I just don't have the design chops that you do, Jason." And the honest, respectful answer was, "Neither do I. Someone else does." Similar to that too, website design, so the design of a website, I encourage you to make use of things that can help you to get the smallest, quickest win in the most rapid amount of time. And instead kind of go about it from the mindset of how do I eventually outgrow this? So I'm okay with you making use of some sort of, quick and easy website designer, something that might just be click and drag, but eventually you're going to get to a point where you want another set of eyes on top of it. You want another set of eyes to make it simply look better. And it's where I'll tell you, and you're going to hear this if you listen to the entire presentation, Hypnotic Outsourcing. Here's a new person I'm bringing on for a new website. And it came around to me just asking her, look at the current site and tell me what you think. And, getting the person who wasn't just going to say, "Oh, you're so talented, this looks so good." No, instead, I got some really brutal feedback that all basically agreed with the stuff that I already, for the most part, knew to be true. So it's where if you really want to move into a higher level of service, if you really want to have your stuff really stand out, to have another skilled person taking on that role. And notice that this week's episode is a little bit more of the what. Again, go to the show notes for this week's episode, worksmarthypnosis.com/371. And this presentation paired with that video hypnotic outsourcing, that's going to give you the how of how to find these people. Yet it's where I can become, one of my favorite words, I can become even more prolific, because here's a 5-day challenge that I did back in December last year that the graphics looked outstanding. Why? I didn't do them. Here's 370 plus podcast episodes on this show. Here's 60 plus on the other show. And again, this stuff looks good because someone else does it. Here's where my favorite piece of feedback, let's call out a friend, Tracy Kanan, former guest on this show and all-around awesome person to begin with, saw the flyers that I was handing out at Hypno Thoughts Live in 2021 and went, part of my family's in the print business. This is the best looking thing in the swag bag. And the reason why was because, again, I got someone else to do that skill for me. I'll say it politely. If it looks like you designed it, that's a cue that maybe someone else should be doing it. And again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Some of you may have a design background. Yet, is that really the business you wish to be in? And it's where I'm okay with it if you want to go in and update a website, or like I do a live stream in one of my other businesses on a weekly basis. And we just have a template for that now. And, I can do that pretty quickly myself, but something that's really designed out, get another set of eyes on. And speaking of eyes, let's also now talk about ears. Let's move on to team member number 2, audio editing. And we'll also throw into this video editing, because even as I'm producing this week's episode, someone else is editing a bunch of videos for me, which I'll call it out on that one. I have the skill set for the edits. Yet because she is now doing the edits for me, I have the time to be talking to you right now and spending good quality time hanging out with you. How nice. And she's doing it better, it turns out, than I knew how to do. There's a moment where I was like, hey, this software that we use for capturing video, it's good enough, yet we've discovered that the audio and the video, because it's an external webcam and it's an external microphone, it's like 4 frames off. So here's the trick that we've been using to edit the audio and just nudge it over 4 frames. That way the audio and the video are in sync. Which, if I've just blown your head right now with technical details, let that be another cue to take my advice on this week's episode. It would be that she then responded, she goes, no, it's actually 1 sync off in the opposite direction. So I was wrong. And I watched her video and went, well, damn, she's right. I'm like, I'm just going to let her do all my videos from this point forward. So audio and video, there is a presentation of mine that's actually now inside of Hypnotic Business Systems, where I teach the easy way to produce and sell hypnotic audio programs. So we came up with a beautiful name for this presentation. It's called The Easy Way to Produce and Sell Hypnotic Audio Programs. And really, I'll tell the story of that presentation here in this quick anecdote, which would be that I produced an audio, I recorded the raw audio, and then I found the music. I wanted to be the bed underneath it. And I put the job up on an outsourcing website. And for $10, someone else did the entire edit for me. And they did some things to make my voice sound better. They did some things to really make the music not become intrusive and subtle in the right ways. And it's where I could have spent my sound design skills that clearly I, kind of already have to a decent level. And for $10, they did it faster, they did it easier, and they did it better. So I'm okay with you getting up and running, doing things on your own. But when things then start to grow, that's where you've got to think in terms of expanding beyond your own abilities. Because again, someone else who that is their specific skill set, lock it into your brain right now. I am a hypnotist. I am damn good at helping people to produce change or put on my stage hypnosis presentation if that's your specific skill set. And it's where now let's start to use other people's talents and become that job creator, which is all too important in today's modern world, where now someone else can swoop in and do it better. We've got someone right now in one of our private groups, actually inside of the Hypnotic Workers community, that she's been posting about buying this audio recorder, and it's giving her all sorts of editing errors. And I'm off to the sides. We're being supportive and answering the questions to the best of our abilities, yet the amount of time that's gone into that so far, someone else would have had that done in seconds. It's where, here's someone else I'm working with privately that it just became, look, here's my video person, have them go in and just clean this up. And that's going to make this so much easier. It's where if you really want to be expanding the pricing, if you really want to be expanding the reach of what you do, to have someone else swoop in. And again, don't fall prey to this mindset of I can't afford to do that. There's a time cost to everything. I have family members who will drive a 2-hour round trip to another city nearby because they've got coupons for a specific store. And I tried. Like, here's Amazon Prime. It will deliver to your doorstep. And you don't have to put in the time of driving, and gas prices aren't dropping anytime soon. And you could use that time for something more valuable, even if it is sitting around and watching TV. So let's think bigger. Let's think beyond our own. This is superhero syndrome, as we classically call it. So far, graphic and web, that's a thing you can put to a team member, even if it's a one-time task. Audio and video, that's something you can job off to someone else. The third one is the one that I consistently reach beyond myself for, which is someone to be in that position of a mentor or a coach. And at the current time, I'm, not necessarily working with anyone in an active role, yet I have joined communities where I have access to a core set of training. I have a place where I can get my questions answered. And I will very openly say it's been my willingness to put myself in that kind of environment that are every reason why the business has continued to grow year after year. If I stay in the same space, and this is a metaphor, if I stay in the same space where I'm the one consistently holding court and acting as if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong damn room. So it's that willingness to call out, I don't have all the answers. And even to be able to pinpoint the specific things that I need some help with. And by doing so now, my chosen route is I want something where I've got a permanent library that I can go in and I can review and I can look at the tutorials. I can get my questions answered any time of day because of a video resource library. And at the same time, it's got a community that I can go in and I can get my questions answered. I can pose a question. I can get a bunch of opinions. The person who runs that group is there as well. And it's where, if you know the story of my program, Hypnotic Business Systems, it's where we've changed it over the years to reflect what I wish I had when I got up and running. You want to do a group session to earn some income and then elevate the people from the group session into one-to-one sessions. That's called Group Session Machine. It's a whole module inside of Hypnotic Business Systems. You want to figure out not just how to create videos, but what to say inside of the videos. It's where I teach a few different frameworks for how you talk about your offer, how you talk about hypnosis. And let's call it out. Hypnosis is weird to the general public. And it's all of my years of going out and doing live business networking. That was my open mic night of getting good at my messaging and then capturing those things in my online videos, which is why, yes, there's a whole section on networking in Hypnotic Business Systems. And yes, we've even transcribed every one of my client acquisition videos inside of Hypnotic Business Systems for you to model. I mean, if you want to get clever and figure out how to plug it into a teleprompter, you could. I'd encourage you to say your name. I've got enough people calling me already. Let's bring them to your business instead. Yet that's why we've created Hypnotic Business Systems. So in that role of the mentor, the coach, I chose a number of years ago to focus on the one-to-many because, respectfully speaking, you don't need to pay me in real time for stuff that I've already captured for you. For things like creating a webinar funnel to bring clients into your business in an automated way, there's the full training where you watch me set one up in real time and even give you the transcript of the actual presentation to model. And then as you've got questions, hop over into the Hypnotic Business Systems community that we have online for you. And that's where there's more than 1,000 members in this community worldwide. Not everybody is in the group, but the fact that we've got what are we up to now? I think well over 800. That ain't bad of a selection of people moving from, online community to also interactive in the group as well. So if you don't yet have someone actively in that role who, listen to this next statement, has done the things that you want to do, check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. Let me serve as that mentor coach for you and also our wonderfully giving community as well. Let's tie this all together with the fourth team member, which would be that of a bookkeeper/accountant, which, yes, we have a full section on money management inside of Hypnotic Business Systems. And I'll tell the story in a rather generic way because this person's identity doesn't need to be shared for the story. Yet she posted online that she had a really strong 2021, really strong last year. And it was great, yet here came the 5-figure tax bill, to which she's a friend, she's a student, she's in our community. I swooped into a private message to go, hey, what's your business entity? Like, what's your business formation? Because every major developed country in the world rewards you to run your business like a business. And a couple of things. One, it turned out that she wasn't the best tax formation for her business, which, mind you, I am not an accountant. I am not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one on the internet or even on podcast episodes. It's my place to instead help you to ask the right questions to see if you have the right people behind you. And it's where, one, she wasn't, and two, she then was encouraged to look a little bit deeper at the details and find out, and this is downright frightening, her accountant had actually double counted some of her income. And the fixes that are now in motion now result in a significant adjustment in the amount of taxes that she owes. So it's easy to play the game of, oh, I can get this software and figure it out myself. But it turns out I will very, very proudly tell you the amount of money that I give to my accountant, who also his company serves as my bookkeeper. They are finding opportunities that we should all be paying our fair share of taxes. However, let's not accidentally give them a pay raise, to say it politely, or I guess impolitely there. So the professional looking at what you do. Now, notice that this is the last one I mention, because if you're just getting up and running, that's where maybe investing in someone in this role is perhaps putting the cart before the horse. And that's why I mentioned this one last. Yet as soon as you are earning an income, you want another set of eyes looking at the financials. And yes, it's going to cost you some money to hire these people. Yes, when you find the right ones, it is incredibly worth it, because even to get into the dialogue of how proper investment strategy can also offset your taxable income becomes a beautiful situation where now not only are you keeping more of your money now, you're also setting it aside wonderfully for the future. So let's recap this expand your team to win faster list. First of all, graphic and web, get another set of eyes who design is their skill set. And again, Hypnotic Outsourcing is available to you in the show notes of this week's episode to see how you don't necessarily jump into a full relationship too quickly and get in too deep. Second of all, audio and video. If you're making use of either of these, and I would say video is one of those non-deniable things that you need to have in the shape of your business these days. People do business with people. And video is the number one strategy to build rapport through the screen and have those people already knowing you even before they reach out to you. Third of all, someone in that mentor coach situation. And ideally, let it be someone who has done the specific things that you want to do yourself. Yes, this next statement is going to point back to me and our program, Hypnotic Business Systems. Yet I cannot tell you the number of people who have dropped a ridiculous amount of money on a branding coach, on a business coach who broke their business. And this is why, as much as I've launched a side business, we splintered off the influence side of what I do. Hypnotic Influence for Premium Sales is now its own separate side of my business. It's its own separate program because that appeals to high-level consultants. That goes out to people in the coaching industry, of which, yes, we've had a number of our hypno people elevate up to that when they're at the stage of now ready to build a global, scalable business, which is what Influence for Premium Sales is all about. Yet it's in that splintering off, it really helped to showcase that as much as I would like to say that business is business, what we do as hypnotists is extremely niche specific. And again, to be able to launch faster and easier with the stuff that has already been proven to work for this specific industry, it's where respectfully the majority of you listening to this program are a better fit for the program under the Work Smart Hypnosis umbrella, which is Hypnotic Business Systems. Check that out, hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. I do private consulting, yet in most cases, the people who reach out to me, doing an onboarding tour of where to go inside of Hypnotic Business Systems answers their questions even faster and is a whole lot more cost effective than working with me one-to-one, just because that pulls me away from everything else I do, and that pricing is then relative. So check that out, hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. And then once you're profitable, as you're up and running, the bookkeeper, accountant role, yes, it's going to cost you some money. They're going to help you to keep that money even better. So there you go. Expand your team to win faster. Jason Linett here once again. And as always, thank you so much for interacting with this program, for sharing this on your social media streams, as well as giving us your specific feedback. When we get that story that we got this the other day. Hey, I just used Jason's phone sales process and closed my highest sale ever. We got that one publicly over in the Work Smart Hypnosis community. I don't just put this out there for my own entertainment. And it's where even as this podcast continues to grow and we see hundreds, if not thousands of downloads every single day, it's your feedback, it's your stories that tell us exactly what you need to keep growing. So share this around, leave your feedback. Head over to the show notes for this week's episode, worksmarthypnosis.com/371. That's where you'll find the video bonus of the hypnotic outsourcing training, as well as a direct link over to hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. And the thing is this, we want you to be successful. And that's why we've made it an option as of now to give you a 10-month installment plan access. So it's lifetime access once it's paid in full. We're not the game of recurring membership anymore as we were years ago. This is not one of those programs that's going to make you pay a monthly fee until we both die. That got dark. It's instead brief installment plan for lifetime access. This way it becomes a permanent asset for the continued growth of your hypnosis business. Check that out. Watch the tour. See all the success stories now at hypnoticbusinesssystems.com.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at worksmarthypnosis.com.